Hi guys, well today we're going to be taking a look at InWin's latest creation, which is a 904 mid-tower. Now just recently InWin have been creating some rather specialised and exciting cases. You know, you have to look to the toe as an example of that, and we've got a really quirky design there. And by doing this, they're really diversifying and standing out from the rest of case manufacturers by presenting us with some rather unique options. And yet again we're here with another unorthodox design with the 904. So 904 is a mid-tower computer case with a combination of aluminium and tempered glass construction. Inside you'll find some subtle alterations to the conventional computer case and some external support for 120 and 140mm radiators. Now 904 is going to be priced at around £150 in the UK and then $240 over in the States. So I'm sure you're really intrigued as to what this case offers. So we're now going to jump in and take a good look at the 904. Okay, so to start with, we're going to take a look at the outside of 904. Here you can see we've got the brushed aluminium. This is actually one piece, so it spans right from the top of the case, over the front, and underneath. Now you'll notice on that front panel there are no 5 1/4 marked out. And this front panel doesn't act as a door. So you're going to wonder, where are the optical drive bays? Well, underneath here we've got this allocation for a single drive. This is a small little platform which the power supply sits on, and inside that platform is the allocation for the optical drive. So you can see here we've got this thumb screw which actually stays attached to this metal plate here, and then removing that, you can see there we've got the allocation. So there's a small cavity inside there. You can slot in your optical drive, and there's screws on either side in order to fix it into place. So when you press your eject button, the tray is going to come out here so you can drop in your DVD, your Blu-ray or your CD. Also in this region we've got the front panel connectivity. We've got a power button in the corner there. We've got the activity LEDs. Now we've got a combination of 2 lots of USB 3 ports, and these actually run off a cable each themselves, so you're going to need to have 2 USB 3 headers on your motherboard in order to take advantage of those. And then we've got the headphone and the microphone jacks for the audio. At the rear of 904 we have this aluminium panel, and in each corner we have a thumb screw, so this can actually be detached from the case. Just loosen these off, already slacking the ones at the bottom just to make it easier for the video. So taking that off, you can see that is rather thick. It's nice and substantial. And here we've obviously got access to the rear I/O, to the graphics card, and obviously to the power supply at the very bottom there. And there's a nice little cavity inside there. So with that attached, and with the gaps at the sides, the top, in this lower region here, we can create a nice arrangement at the back with the cables and keep it nice and tidy. But the main thing with this particular panel, the fundamental thing, is this grid section here. Now we can drop into that a 120 or a 140mm radiator. So with the provided screws and washers, you can have that fixed onto there. You can drop in a hydro, Corso hydro inside, have the tubing coming through. You can have the fan attached there and the radiator on the outside, so you can blow the heat away from the case. Keeps it away from the component, so it's quite a nice and resourceful idea. A little later I'm going to show you exactly how that looks and how it works. Both sides of 904 feature 5mm tempered glass panels which also have a tint. Now this tint darkens the inside quite significantly, especially since those internal elements of the case are black. But if you have LED lighting or components which have lighting, then you'll be able to display things a lot better. Both side panels are exactly the same. They have no standout features except to say there are 4 thumb screws for fixing the glass onto the case. Okay, we're now going to remove those thumb screws so that we can have a look inside the case. And gently remove it. Obviously with it being glass, we don't want to scratch it. We want to keep it nice and scratch free. And with it being glass, it's obviously going to pick up dust, pick up smudges quite easily. So you're going to need to get that polish out now and then just to keep it nice and pristine. So there we have an overview of the system that is behind the motherboard tray. And there we have the prominent side with our ATX test system installed. Okay, we're now going to move inside the case and have a good look at all the features. So to start with, we've got the power supply unit which sits on the optical drive bay, and because of that we don't have a dust filter underneath. So InWin actually recommend that you have this power supply with the fan facing the inside of the case, and underneath that we have no anti-vibration padding, so really not the greatest design. I think InWin could have done a little bit better with this design for the power supply. But at the back there you can see we've got a cutout so the cables can feed through there, and InWin actually provides for the CPU power and also the 24 pin an extender, so if your cables aren't long enough then you can have those extenders. Further up we have 8 PCI covers, and this enables you to have the multi-GPU support. Now each of those covers are solid, so you don't have any ventilation cutouts, and they take a standard screw, so you're going to need to take out your screwdriver in order to loosen them. Towards the back of the case there is allocation for mounting a 90mm cooling fan. There isn't one included, so this is just optional, and InWin have intentionally made that cutout quite large so that you can get that CPU block from a liquid cooler routed through. Now where the optical drive bay would commonly be, at the very front of the case, InWin have actually engineered a hard drive cage, and this can take up to 3 drives, and that's 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch. I'll just take one of these out to show you. Here's the tray which your drive will sit in. I've got a 3.5 inch drive there, and the pins just go into the sides, and it is tool free. But if you go for a 2.5 inch, then you will just need to insert some screws into the underside there. And the handy aspect about the hard drive support is that there are SATA connectors at the very back of that cage which make the storage hot swappable. And below this cage we have some additional 2.5 inch storage. So all you do is undo this thumb screw here, this plate comes out, you can drop in an SSD, just apply the screws to the underside, and then you can pop it back in. So that's a really handy thing to have at the front of the case. Now there's another location for dropping in a cooling fan inside 904. This is the spot just above the front panel connectivity, and this bracket here can take a 140mm cooling fan. All you need to do is remove that thumb screw. This bracket comes out, you can attach your fan to that, and we've also got a dust filter which has a magnetic set of pads there which allow it to connect. So you can take that out and give it a good clean, because obviously you will want that cooling fan, if you're going to drop it in, to be an intake, so it's going to obviously build up pressure underneath here and dust and blow into the case. So by now you'll realise that there are no cooling fans inside 904, and that is one of the drawbacks. You may have noticed from the very beginning of this video, the prominent side panel was left off the case. The reason for this is quite clear from this angle. Due to the dimensions of 904, there is a limitation for the CPU cooler. Bigger flagship options, which are usually around 160mm in height, will not fit inside the case and allow the side panel to be fitted. We have Noctua's NHU12P, which is 158mm in height, and even this hangs out beyond the width of 904. So air coolers have a limitation of up to 145mm. But for the graphics card clearance, it's a totally different story. There is approximately 360mm or 14 inches of clearance before the end of the card touches the front of the case. You'll obviously need to allow additional space if you do have SSDs mounted at the front of 904, but multi-GPU configurations can also take advantage of this clearance, since all of those slots are unobstructed. Behind the motherboard tray there is just under 2.5cm of clearance between the back of the tray and the side panel, so this presents us with ample space for guaranteeing good cable management. And as I mentioned earlier, there is also the 24-pin power and the CPU power extender cables to assist with reaching those connectors on the motherboard. and InWin provide the cable ties and the clips to help with the cable management too. Now there's only one real location for mounting radiators inside 904, and that is onto the rear aluminium panel. Here you can see we've got the Corsair Hydro H75. I've got that mounted onto the outside of the panel. You can see we've got the fan first of all, and then we've got the radiator. So we've got a push configuration, and we've got the respective screws there and the washers so that does fit onto there. I'll just show you now. First of all, we've got to put the block. It can be a bit tricky this, and just fit this through that gap which InWin have made, which is really handy, otherwise we wouldn't be able to fit that. If I just, it's worth making sure as well, just at this point, that you've got that plastic cover onto the CPU block, because otherwise it is going to get scratched. Okay, there we go, got there in the end. Just tighten that up, and you can see that fits in there quite nicely. We've obviously got that all outside of the case, the heating, so you know you can keep everything away from the components, away from the inside of the case, and you know with that that radiator being able to be mounted onto the outside and the lack of cooling fans, this is really designed for this type of liquid cooler. So drawing our thoughts to a close on 904, it has to be said that this case really fits into a niche. You know, it won't be to everyone's taste and requirements, so if you're intending on using a CPU cooler inside the case, then you almost certainly need to attach those cooling fans into the only 2 locations inside the case. And even then, I'm kind of dubious as to how effective those will be, as there's no placements at the front, traditional spots, and also at the back, it's just a 90mm option. So by now you've probably guessed that this case is really designed for those all-in-one liquid coolers, which are very popular at the moment, and the integration is very useful. I like the fact that you can mount that onto the outside of the case and keep it away, keep the heat away from the internal components. At the moment, that rear panel, it only supports the 120 and the 140mm variants of the radiators, and I'm hoping that InWin will sort of have a bigger option for the actual panel, so it can support the H100, so you can buy that separately and support those bigger radiators. And as far as the looks and the quality is concerned, 904 is a superb case. You know, it may not have the features that are similar in that price range, like the fan control and things like that, but the focus really is on the high quality materials and having such a unique case. So that pretty much concludes our video today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free to check out the full review on Vortez.net, which will be in the description. The link will be over there. If you feel free to comment on the video, let me know what you think of this. You know, it'd be interesting to see what people's opinions are. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon.